Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Gonna be giving you my reaction to Ole Gunnar Solsjaer's press conference ahead of our game against Manchester City in the EFL Cup semi-final. So he's given us an update on some team news. He said it's Edinson Cavani and Phil Jones who are the only two that are out. I think Jones is still out with injury, and obviously Cavani has got 2 games to serve. So he said this, we're disappointed not having Edinson Cavani involved. He's probably the only one that's not, and Phil Jones, who has been out for a long time, like I said, they're the only 2 that are not available for selection, which is a good position to be in. Ole Gunnar Solsjaer obviously got asked about Darren Fletcher getting appointed in as first team coach. That was actually announced yesterday. And this is what he said. He's got the Man United DNA, and there was a spot open because Mark Dempsey has moved to the academy. We felt he is so valuable there. He has been brilliant in the academy. So when this is the opening came, Darren has been away from the club for a few years, and he has been back doing coaching with the under-16s. With his experience of being here through both successful and difficult times, we felt it was right now for Darren to come in and give us that input. I think it's important that we bring in ex-players who have been somewhere else. I've been somewhere else after Sir Alex Ferguson and Mike Phelan and Carlos Queiroz. We know one way of coaching, but they've been at different clubs and have got different ideas. Fletch, with his years and knowledge, will improve us in the backroom staff. I think a lot of Man United fans were delighted by that news. You know, Darren Fletcher did endure 20 years as a player for Man United, and he made over 340 appearances for the club. Let's get to a few of the others that he was asked. There was one question here, and that was the importance of the semi-final. And he said it's always a good position. How important is it? Then I can answer, very. The next game is always important, but a semi-final is always very important. And the chance to get to the final and to get your hands on a trophy in the next round, for this team, it would be a very big step, getting your hands on a trophy. We've developed a lot in the last 6 months or 12 months from the last Carabao Cup semi. It's not just learning to win semis. We've also earned the right to feel we can go all the way with our performances. We're confident. We go into the game in form. There are no excuses. So he's basically saying there's no excuses if we lose another semi-final, because obviously we lost 3 semi-finals last season. Then there was obviously another question, you know, in terms of winning something for you as well. People can see the progress you've made, but a trophy is something tangible that you've achieved. And obviously Ollie's response was, yes, of course, you play football to win trophies, to get your hands on trophies, even though as soon as you win a trophy, you move on the next one. It gives you the hunger to get more. Of course, the squad is focused and we're ready to give it a go. I think we've prepared well for this game. A few other questions, I think, somewhere about. There was one here as well about the national lockdown. You know, he was asked, can he give his view on the national lockdown? That was obviously announced yesterday night. You know, do you think your players are safe to continue despite most of the country not being able to go out and work? And Ollie's response, surprised me. He said, well, of course, it's hard and difficult situation for everyone. Last year, from March to now, has been a testing time for everyone. We are privileged to play football under the protocols that we are working under. We hope that we can continue. I think mentally for many, it would be a release to watch games now, especially when we are in full lockdown again. We hope that we can continue, but we know that we have to work hard to stay within the rules and guidelines. We're doing our best to keep the show on the road. There was another question here. It'll be your 7th Manchester derby in 2 years as manager. You've had the edge on results. Aside from the results, what sort of progression have you seen in terms of the performances against City? And then he says, I've seen progress, and sometimes the results don't show the whole picture of the game. Some of our counter-attacking goals in the wins that we've had have been brilliant away in the league. When we won, we could have scored 4 or 5 in a 10-15 minute period. The counter-attacks were just out of this world, but we've had less control of the ball and defended fantastically. I think the last game was more or less 50-50 in terms of possession and maybe more cagey from both teams. Still, I felt that was a progression, staying more in the game. You never know. You never know what kind of system Pep Guardiola is going to come up with, but you have to defend really well against Man City. It's hard to keep the ball in their half when they've got it because they can find a way of overloading, so you have to be brave and compact and trust your players. Then again, when we have the ball, we need to keep it as well and play out of their press. They're one of the quickest ones to put the counter pressure on and want to win it high up. It's a balance that I think we found, but we didn't have that X factor the last game. Maybe because they were a little bit more cagey and set up to counter more as well. It's been some fascinating games, and I feel we've got closer and closer, and results sometimes you can't control. Yeah, so these were the stuff that were mentioned in the press conference. By the way, Victor Lindelof wasn't mentioned in the press conference, so I believe now he'll be back from injury, so could be playing tomorrow night. Solsjaer could even go with 5 at the back tomorrow night. I think we need to keep Eric Bailly, though, in the team because Eric Bailly's been very, very impressive since he's come back. He has started our last 4 games in a row. Ollie was talking about Man City recently. It's good reading from Ollie, actually. He says City can change from a possession team to a counter-attacking team. Now, we obviously played Manchester City earlier on in the season. In the league, it was 0-0 at Old Trafford. That game lacked a lot of quality. And the best chance in that game was from Raheem Mahrez. I think our chance in that game were all half chances. So I'm hopeful that this game tomorrow night doesn't replicate the one in the league earlier on in the season. Like I said, we played City in the semi-final last season. Obviously got knocked out. We lost the first leg 3-1 at Old Trafford. But we won the second leg 1-0 at the Etihad. But obviously it was 3-2 on aggregate. But we did beat City 3 times out of the 4 times we played them last season, because we beat them both times in the league. We also played Manchester City in the League Cup semi-final. Was it back in the 2009-10 season? Do you remember when Wayne Rooney had scored that late winner? But this is going to be a very, very close game because we're going into this game on a good vein of form. We've won our last 10. We are unbeaten in our last 10 league games. We're coming into this game on the back of a 2-1 win against Aston Villa. And as for Man City, they're unbeaten in their last 11 games in all competitions. And they recently had a very, very good win against Chelsea, beating them by 3-1. City are looking to win their 4th EFL Cup in a row because they have won it for the last 3 seasons. It was saying that City could miss around 7 players because quite a few Man City players have got COVID. I think Gabriel Jesus has got COVID. I think Edison recently got tested positive for it. That's why Zach Steffen went in goal in City's game against Chelsea. That was his Premier League debut for City. Kyle Walker's also got COVID. I think also too Eric Garcia's got COVID. I think Tommy Doyle got tested positive for COVID the other week. Benjamin Mendy, he broke COVID-19 rules. But I presume that probably some of their players will be back. City have obviously got Laporte out with injury. And Nathan Ake has recently been injured. You know, City could possibly go with a similar lineup to as they do against Chelsea. But, you know, they have got some, you know, very, very good players in their team. Like I said, Gabriel Jesus, he's one of their key players. You know, Sergio Aguero, he's one of their key players. One that he injured earlier on in the season. Raheem Sterling, he's also one of their key players as well. Got him from Liverpool a few years ago. They've got that Bernardo Silva, he's one of their key players. Riyad Mahrez, he's one of their key players. Ferran Torres, he's one of their key players as well. They got him during the summer. I think he's also got COVID. He's obviously been self-isolating. Phil Foden, he's also one of their key players. He's come up Manchester City's ranks very, very well. As Phil Foden. Ilkay Gundogan, he's one of their key players as well. He's just a bit injury prone. Kevin De Bruyne, he's obviously one of their key players. He's regarded as one of the best midfielders in the league. Benjamin Mendy, he's injury prone. They've got that Cancelo. They've got that Zinchenko. Edison, I think, is a good goalkeeper, but he's not the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. They've also got that Ruben Diaz. They got him during the summer. There's a few players I don't rate though at Man City. Now, I don't rate that John Stones. City actually got him from Everton. And I don't rate that Rodri. I don't think he's made the best of impacts at City. Now, of course, City have let a few players go, haven't they? You know, quite a few years ago, they let Vincent Kompany go. He went to become player manager at Anderlecht. During the summer, they let David Silva go to Real Sociedad, and they also let Otamendi go. And Joe Hart also left them. But City, you know, I've got one of the best managers in the world in, you know, Pep Guardiola. You know, he's been City manager now for over 4 years. City appointed him in 2016. You know, he's won quite a few trophies at City. You know, he's won the EFL Cup quite a few times. He's won 2 Premier Leagues. You know, he's also won the FA Cup and he has won the Charity Shield. A few years ago, City won the domestic treble. That season, they finished on 100 points, became the first team in the Premier League to do that. And earlier on in the season, he signed a 2-year contract with Man City. You know, before Guardiola was at City, he was at Barcelona. You know, he won the Champions League with Barcelona, and before that, he was at Bayern Munich. Didn't win the Champions League with Munich, but came close to winning it with Munich. City, you know, did win the title under Manuel Pellegrini. They also won the title under Roberto Mancini, but when they won it under Roberto Mancini, that was their first title in 44 years. So, yeah. After Man City, we have got Watford in the FA Cup. That's a game Manchester United should be winning. I think Solsjaer will make a lot of rotation in the squad for that one. After Watford, it is Burnley in the league away from home. That is obviously our game in hand. We were supposed to be playing Burnley on the opening day of the season, but it got postponed. And after Burnley, it is Liverpool, and that is going to be a massive game. And like I said to you on my recent video, Man United now have a serious title opportunity because Liverpool recently lost to Southampton 1-0. They are winless in their last 3 games, so they have been in a bad vein of form. By the way, Jurgen Klopp has come out and said that we get a penalty every 3 games, and he's basically said that we've had more penalties than they've had in his 5.5 years with Liverpool. Basically just doesn't like it, does he? But, if we do beat Burnley on the 12th, we are 3 points clear of Liverpool. So we are certainly in this title race. As it stands at the moment, we are joint top of the Premier League. Solsjaer did say after our 1-0 win against Wolves that, we're not in the title race, but that's him just playing mind games. But he said if we are still challenging at the top in March, then he'll start to believe that we are in the title race. I'm not saying we're going to win the league this season, because like I've said to you time and time again, I'm very, very sceptical we'll win it this season. But, we are going to definitely win another Premier League title at some point if it isn't this season. If we do win the Premier League, it will be our first title since 2013, and it will be our 21st title overall. Games are coming up thick and fast for Man United. Don't forget, we've got to go to Anfield on the 17th. We've got to go to the Emirates on the 30th. I think we play Chelsea at some point in February at Stamford Bridge. We've got to go to the Etihad. And these are the games that Manchester United have got to win if we are true title contenders. But Solskjaer says we have still got to improve if we are to challenge for the title. But I think Solskjaer does deserve a lot of credit because he's obviously got us to the EFL Cup semi-final. He's got us joint top of the Premier League. He did well in his first full season last season, got us to 3 semi-finals, got us qualification for the Champions League and also got us 3rd. He has made good signings since he got appointed in as Man United manager. He's spent over £200 million at the club. This January transfer window is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's 5th transfer window as Man United manager. And the board have promised that they will back Solskjaer in this January transfer window. And Solskjaer does deserve more backing. Does deserve more backing at the football club because during the summer transfer window, he wasn't backed enough by the board. And he showed his frustration towards the board quite a few times, but none of our managers have been backed enough since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. And this is one of the main reasons why the board's been one of the biggest problems at the club for several years. Woodward's been at Man United since 2012, and the Glazers have been at the football club since 2005. But Ed Woodward is confident of success under Ole. And there has been a lot of players on our agenda. We're not only going to focus on the incomings though this year, we're also going to focus on the outgoings as well. Because he's still deadwood at the football club that we need to get rid of. He recently said that Solskjaer has held talks with 6 players he wants to get rid of in this January transfer window. And the 6 players he wants to get rid of is Jesse Lingard, Phil Jones, Marcus Rojo, Sergio Romero, Dan James, Brandon Williams, I think he'll be going out on loan. I'm expecting Igalo to also leave in this January transfer window. We've already seen a lot of players depart the club, since Ole Gunnar Solsjaer got recommended in. And I think Solskjaer's decision making in some games has been very, very good. But in a lot of his games at Man United, his decision making has been poor. And that is my element of concern about him. But Solskjaer did recently say that the change of mentality in our players has helped us get into the position that we are now in. We've been very, very good away from home in the Premier League this season. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League this season. And I said it was a shame that we didn't beat Leicester on Boxing Day, because that would have been 11 away wins in a row in the Premier League. We won 4 games at Old Trafford in the Premier League this season. It's good that we've started to win more games at home recently, but we've been far better away from home than we have been at home. But I think, Solskjaer has learnt quite a lot at Man United, and he has gained some managerial experience, reflecting now on he's been at the club. Solskjaer has been Manchester United manager now for just over 2 years. We appointed him in December 2018, and he's been permanent Man United manager since March 2019. We give him the job permanently, reflecting on what he did in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager. We did give him the job a bit too early though. But yet he's more than halfway through his 3-year deal now. There is a possibility chance at some point this year we'll enter negotiations over extending his contract. Solskjaer's managed over 100 games as Manchester United manager in all competitions. What would represent a good season? That would be finishing in the top 4, the top 3 and winning a trophy. It'd be absolutely remarkable if we did win the Premier League title. But don't forget, there's 4 trophies we can pursue this season. We can win the Premier League, we can win the EFL Cup, we can win the FA Cup, and we can also win the Europa League. So let's just put that into the equation. Solskjaer has been close to getting sacked quite a few times as Man United manager, because obviously we have endured bad periods under him. Now you can say if we didn't beat Everton earlier on in the season at Goodison Park, then Solskjaer probably would have been sacked. But we did beat Everton, so that obviously saved him. You can say he was lucky not to be sacked after we got knocked out of the Champions League, because really we should have got qualified. We should have got into the knockout stages of the Champions League, because we had a good start to Europe. We won at PSG 2-1. We thrashed RB Leipzig 5-0. And then after that, it all seemed to go downhill, didn't it? You can say he was lucky not to be sacked after the 6-1 hammering against Tottenham. You can say he was lucky not to be sacked at the first part of last season. So he's had a lucky escape quite a few times. But like I said, our board have softened their stance on Ole. Main explanation is because Ole is a club legend. Disregarding him being a club legend, the board obviously would be more ruthless on him. But it just seems like now he's getting it all right. You know what I mean? Does Solskjaer know his best 11 at Man United? I certainly know what our best 11 is. He's tried a few different formations as Ole, he's gone with a 4-2-3-1 a lot. A few times he's gone with that 4-1-2-1-2. A few times he's gone with a 4-3-3. A few times he's gone with that 3-5-2 formation. He has gone with 3 at the back in a lot of the big games, hasn't he? You know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, I'm starting to slowly change my perception on Solskjaer now. I'm starting to believe more and more that he's the right manager for Man United, and I'm starting to believe he can lead the club to long-term success. The perception was totally comparison earlier on in the season, because earlier on in the season I was very critical of Solskjaer and I was demanding him out of the club, and not only me, there was obviously a lot of other Man United fans that were demanding him out. But it just shows you, good results and good performances change the complexion of what people think, doesn't it? But Solsjaer hasn't got that proven pedigree as a manager. You know, obviously before he was with us, he was at Mulder. He won a few Norwegian titles at Mulder, but they're not a big club. And before he was at Mulder, he was at Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff was absolutely disastrous, wasn't it? But, you know, don't forget, Mauricio Pochettino was the favourite to take over at Man United, and he actually became close to becoming our new manager. Obviously, Pochettino's now at PSG. Massimiliano Allegri was on our agenda a few times. Julian Nagelsmann was on our agenda earlier on in the season, and at one point Thomas Tuchel was. You know, don't forget, Ole is our fourth permanent manager since the Sir Alex Ferguson era. Oh, and we've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson left, even though we're not known as a sacking football club. Now, you obviously know the news on Moises Caicedo. I'll give you the news on him earlier on today. El Dairo have said that Independiente del Val have increased their asking price for Moises Caicedo. They do want now around €10 million. It says in December, which was last month, that we will looking to finalise a deal in the region of around €6 million. And he said it would include a 20% sell-on clause. Independiente del Val have denied that we've made contact over a move for Moises Caicedo. But Caicedo recently liked a Man United Instagram post. He's already revealed that his favourite club is Man United. But it said towards the end of last year that a deal has been agreed and all of that. But it also mentions that Chelsea are in for him, because it says Chelsea are looking to hijack our move for the player. Brighton and Newcastle were also in for him. I think it said recently that his move to Man United is 90% done, but we've obviously got to obtain a work permit so he can come into the club. Moises Caicedo made his debut for Independiente del Val around 15 months ago. He's got a contract with them till 2024. I think he's played around 4 times for Ecuador. If he comes to Man United, he'll be the second Ecuadorian to represent the club after Antonio Valencia. He's 19 and he is a holding midfielder. You already know the news on Amad Diallo Traore from Atlanta. His arrival is imminent. You know, don't forget, back in October, we agreed a deal worth £37 million with Atlanta. We're paying $19 million up front, and obviously there's several add-ons included. Atlanta said they wanted him back on loan for the remainder of the season, but we rejected that offer. Solsjaer said he's excited about him coming into the club. And I think he will immediately get into the first team. And I like the way that Solskjaer has promoted the youth, because since he got appointed in as Man United manager, he's given the young players their chances and he's brought more young players in. You know the news on Max Aarons. I gave you the news on him a couple of days ago, didn't I? I also gave you the news, didn't I, on Jack Grealish. It's recently said that we want to sign Erling Haaland now instead of Jadon Sancho. Haaland, Solskjaer's priority. So there you go. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop me comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.